It's Notre Dame versus USC under the lights in South Bend, and everything is on the line. Playoff hopes, legacy, recruiting, maybe even the future of the rivalry. What more could you possibly ask for? Let's go.
You are Locked On Irish, your daily podcast on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome in. This is Locked On Irish, your daily home for Notre Dame football. I'm your host, Tyler Wojciak. I graduated from Notre Dame in 2018. Now I'm a producer at Fox Sports, and I've been covering the Irish since 2020. I am thrilled to have you here with me on Wednesday, October 15th, and thanks for getting your day started right here by making this your first watch or listen of the day. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast so that way you don't miss any of our daily coverage of Notre Dame football, and let's dive right into it. This is it. It's Notre Dame USC week. One of the greatest rivalries in college football might be playing its final chapter for a long time, and everything is on the line in South Bend on Saturday night. I'm going to break down exactly who USC has been this season, what they do well, where they're vulnerable, and why this isn't the same Lincoln Riley team that we have seen in the past. I'll also give you my scouting report for USC in all three phases. I'll lay out the keys to the game for Notre Dame, and I'm going to tell you exactly what the Irish have to do to seize the moment under the lights. And of course, I've got my score prediction coming at the end, but we begin with what you need to know. The greatest intersectional rivalry in college football returns under the lights on Saturday night. It's Notre Dame and USC at 7:30 p.m. Eastern inside Notre Dame Stadium, live on NBC with Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge on the call. And Mother Nature could play a role in this one. The forecast calls for a high of 74, which is pretty good for mid-October in South Bend. But there's a 60% chance of rain and wind gusts up to 20 miles per hour. That might favor Notre Dame on the field, but it certainly doesn't favor anyone who plans to tailgate all day, such as myself and many others who are watching or listening to this show. But we're going to have to monitor the weather over these next few days here because it's not looking great right now. It could go a little bit south of South Bend, but we're going to have to wait and see. This rivalry features two of the true giants of college football. Notre Dame and USC have combined for 24 national championships and 15 Heisman trophies. They have played almost every year since 1926, with the only interruptions coming during World War II and the 2020 pandemic season, and the Irish lead the all-time series 50-37-1, and the winner walks away with a jewel shillelagh. Even though the record is relatively close, it's kind of interesting how it works. Like, this rivalry tends to swing in long stretches of dominance. USC ran the table from 2002 through 2009. That was during my childhood. I didn't think Notre Dame was ever going to beat USC again during my lifetime. Back in the 80s, Lou Holtz never lost to USC. And Notre Dame has won 10 of the last 14 meetings, including 6 of the last 7. And they have not lost to USC at home since 2011. Think about what your life was like back in 2011. For me, I was a sophomore in high school. I was 15 years old trying to get my driver's license. Now I'm creeping up on 30. So a lot has happened since the last time USC got a win in Notre Dame Stadium. Lincoln Riley leads the Trojans in his 4th season at the helm. He was actually hired the same offseason as Marcus Freeman, as you might remember, but the two programs have headed in pretty opposite directions. It started off great in Lincoln Riley's first year at USC. They almost won the Pac-12 championship. They had Caleb Williams, the Heisman Trophy winner. But since then, things have not been going really well for Lincoln Riley. Riley went 55-10 when he was the head coach at Oklahoma, but he is just 31-15 at USC, including 1-2 against Notre Dame, and he's coming off back-to-back disappointing seasons. But this year, USC is off to a strong start. They're 5-1 after hammering 15th-ranked Michigan 31-13 last week. They are officially back in the top 25 at number 20, and they also beat Purdue 33-17 earlier this year, common opponent between Notre Dame. That was actually a weird one. I think it started like 3 hours late because of a weather delay in West Lafayette. They are also in a track meet with Michigan State, but came out on top 45-31 in that one. Their only loss was a close one on the road at Illinois, decided by a walk-off field goal from Illinois on their home field right after Illinois had just gotten smoked by Indiana the week prior. Notre Dame is currently favored by 9.5 on FanDuel, and the over-under sitting at 61.5. I'm going to be honest, I was surprised that number climbed that high to 9.5. I thought Notre Dame would be like a 7.5-point favorite, but Vegas sees it a little bit differently. Maybe they know something I don't, and I would be very happy if Notre Dame ended up covering that spread. So what's at stake in this matchup? I really don't think it's possible to overstate what this game means for both teams, both coaches, and really the trajectory of both programs. For Notre Dame, this is an elimination game. It is absolutely a must-win game. A loss would be their third of the season, and they would be out of the college football playoff hunt before the first CFP rankings even drop, and it would come at home against their biggest rival. Like, that would be devastating. But if Notre Dame wins, everything is in front of them. After a bye next week, their schedule really lightens up. They play at Boston College, home versus Navy, at Pitt, home versus Syracuse, and at Stanford to close out the season. As of now, they won't face another ranked opponent after USC, but I wouldn't be surprised if Pitt, maybe even Navy, crept into the top 25 here soon. But still, USC is easily the most talented team left on the schedule for Notre Dame. If Notre Dame is able to win on Saturday, that keeps 10-2 on the table, and with the 12-team playoff and the way that things have sort of worked out already this college football season, that likely means a postseason berth. It's not a lock, but Notre Dame is likely to make it in if they finish 10-2. And based on the chaos in college football this year, there really is not a clear-cut favorite to win it all. So if Notre Dame gets in, they're going to have as good a shot as anyone to win the title, and it might be enough to host another first-round playoff game. For USC, this isn't technically a must-win. They still only have one loss, but a defeat would likely knock them out of the top 25 again, and they would be fighting for their lives with ranked road trips ahead against Nebraska and Oregon still looming. And like every Notre Dame USC game, this is about legacy. Players become legends in this rivalry. Drake Bowen even said it in his press conference on Tuesday, quote, "People who have played really well in this game are legends." And it's true. Xavier Watts was not a household name until he torched USC in 2023 with 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery returned for a touchdown against the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. He rode that game all the way to the Nagurski Trophy for the top defensive player in college football in 2023, and no one was talking about Xavier Watts before that USC game, at least not outside the Notre Dame circle. He followed that up with a 100-yard pick six in the Coliseum a year later, and he stared down USC's sideline every step of the way. He is immortal for Notre Dame fans because of what he did against USC in back-to-back seasons. Say the name Tony Jones Jr., right? You might not remember any other play in his career, but you're going to remember his 51-yard touchdown catch in 2018 to send Notre Dame to the college football playoff. And as much as I hate to say it, it goes both ways. USC guys have cemented Heisman campaigns against Notre Dame multiple times. Carson Palmer did it in 2002 when he torched Notre Dame in the last game of the regular season. Matt Leinart did the same thing 2 years later in 2004. And Reggie Bush had a huge game in 2005, which all but solidified his Heisman Trophy that season. And speaking of that 2005 game, yeah, today marks 20 years since that game. Anyway, moving on. It's also huge for the coaches. Charlie Weis got a massive contract extension because they came close to beating USC back in 2005. And Lincoln Riley is fighting to regain USC's trust after back-to-back disappointing seasons. And a win in South Bend wouldn't quiet his critics entirely, but it would potentially reset his arc at USC. For Marcus Freeman, this is about securing control of a rivalry that he's already owned for the most part. After salvaging the 2023 season with a win over USC and then punching their ticket to the college football playoff with a win in the Coliseum last year, a win on Saturday could help cement his legacy even further. But a loss, especially in what might be the final matchup in the storied rivalry, at least for now, that would sting. That would certainly be a blemish on his resume. And that leads to the final layer of stakes in this game, the future. This is one of the biggest recruiting weekends of the year for Notre Dame. They are hosting a massive group of top targets, players they believe can be the foundation of a championship roster. A win does not guarantee commitments by any mean, but games like this shape perception, and perception drives decision-making in recruiting. If Notre Dame wants to recruit at a truly elite level, if they want to consistently beat the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Alabama, and USC, not just on the field, but on the recruiting trail, they have to win games like this in prime time at home with their top targets watching from the sideline. They already lost a game like this earlier in the year against Texas A&M. They can't afford to do it twice. This is a great chance to send a message to the future of the program. But whether those players ever get to experience this rivalry for themselves is uncertain because the two programs still have not finalized future scheduling. We don't know when or if Notre Dame and USC are going to play again. Saturday might be the last chapter for a long time, and whoever wins may hold on to bragging rights and the jeweled shillelagh for years. This is why we watch. This is why we care. This is why this rivalry matters. For the players and coaches, a win on Saturday night doesn't just change your season, it could change your life. And for us as fans, we are never going to forget the game that is about to unfold on Saturday night in South Bend. What an opportunity. Now let's find out who's ready to seize it. All right, coming up, we're going to dive into the USC scouting report on offense and defense, and I'm going to reveal my keys for Notre Dame, plus why I think this has the potential to be a Heisman moment for CJ Carr. That's next. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda. Move and be moved. Today's episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus powered by Peloton IQ. It is their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, this is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and your energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, now let's do a deep dive into the scouting report for USC, and we're going to start with their offense because Lincoln Riley is their head coach, and any team that Lincoln Riley is going to be the coach of is going to be driven by their offense, and this team is no different. Riley is the primary play caller, as he always has been, and you could say what you will about his abilities as a head coach, but he is undoubtedly one of the best offensive minds at any level of football. He loves to run a fast-paced offense built around spacing, RPOs, and play-action shots. And even though he's an air raid disciple, his offenses are at their best when they can run the ball. And so far this season, this looks like a vintage Lincoln Riley offense. They're third in the country in points per game. They are first in yards per play. They're balanced, too. They're top 5 in yards per rush and yards per pass attempt. Michigan was 15th in the country in scoring defense before USC played them last Saturday, and the Trojans put up 31 points on the board and 489 total yards against them. Like, this is a very impressive unit. It might be the best offense that Notre Dame faces all season. Statistically, USC and Texas A&M are neck and neck, but I think USC might have a little bit more talent, certainly a more consistent quarterback. And that quarterback is number 14, Jaden Maiava. He's a junior who has played a lot of college football. He started as a true freshman at UNLV before transferring over to USC, and then he took over for Miller Moss last season about halfway through the year, and he showed flashes of what he could be as a player, but he was pretty inconsistent overall. He's having a career year so far in 2025. He's number 1 in the country in total QBR. He's completing 72% of his passes for nearly 11 yards per attempt. So he's not just like dinking and dunking his way down the field. He's airing it out. He's already thrown for 13 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. And even though Notre Dame got the best of him at the end of the game last year, he still racked up 360 passing yards and 3 touchdowns against a very good Notre Dame defense. It was the best game any opposing quarterback had against Al Golden's defense outside of Will Howard in the national championship game. Now, USC will be without their top 2 running backs in this game. That is a big deal. But keep an eye out for King Miller, number 30. He's a true freshman walk-on from Calabasas. He did not play at all against Illinois, but had to come in against Michigan when they lost their 2 backs. And then King Miller promptly ran for 158 yards on 18 carries and a touchdown. He took that game over, and they're going to lean on him to get the ground game going. As for their wide receivers, you know, they're always going to have some studs out there. Even the bad USC teams have had some stud wide receivers. And this year, they've got one guy who is absolutely elite and another player who's very good and hurt Notre Dame last year. So Mekhi Lemon, number 6, he might be the second best wide receiver in the country, only behind number 4, Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. But based on their production so far this season, I think Mekhi Lemon could end up winning the Biletnikoff over Jeremiah Smith. He is second in the country in receiving yards. He's tied for 7th in receiving touchdowns, and he would even be higher, but he had 1 touchdown called back against Illinois. And let's just be honest, these two guys, Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, absolutely killed Notre Dame last year. Mekhi Lemon is the smaller one. He's about 5'11", 195, incredibly shifty. And then Jacoby Lane is the big body boundary wide receiver. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. And last year, Jacoby Lane had 3 touchdowns against Notre Dame, but Mekhi Lemon did most of the work. He had 9 catches, 100 yards. He was talking a lot of trash to the Notre Dame secondary. And this year, Jacoby Lane's production has taken a little bit of a dip, but he's still a talented player, 18 catches, 313 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But they don't just throw to their wide receivers. They have 2 very talented tight ends. Lake McCree is number 87, and Walker Lyons is number 85. McCree is their number 1 target at tight end, but these two have combined for 26 receptions for 438 yards and 3 touchdowns. They are going to be without their starting left tackle, Elijah Page, who's actually a former Notre Dame commit, but he also missed the Michigan game, and they didn't really skip a beat on the offensive line. So as a whole, they are good at a lot of things, but they are great on the money downs. That's one of their biggest strengths on offense. They're top 5 in the country in converting on 3rd and 4th down. And as I mentioned, they're very balanced. They can beat you through the air and they can run the ball on the ground, but they're also very explosive, and that's what makes them dangerous. They have 13 runs of over 20 yards or more and 10 passes of 30 yards or more. And they're much better on the offensive line than I anticipated. I thought this would be a weakness for them going into the season, but they've only allowed 4 sacks on the year, and they are 11th in the country in tackles for loss allowed. So what are their weaknesses? They don't have many on offense, but they have already turned the ball over 7 times this year, and we have seen Jaden Mayava is very turnover prone against better defenses. He had 5 interceptions in the last 2 games of 2024, 2 against Notre Dame, and then 3 against Texas A&M in the bowl game. So that is going to be a huge factor in this game. As for my keys for the Notre Dame defense, they have to eliminate USC's rushing attack. Don't just stop the run. Eliminate it. Make sure that Lincoln Riley doesn't even want to go to it at any point in the second half. You have to force USC to be one-dimensional. And Notre Dame has been really good against the run all season long. Opponents are averaging just 3.4 yards per carry on the Irish, which is just outside the top 20 nationally. They don't send their linebackers through the gaps that often, which doesn't lead to many tackles for loss in the run game, but it leads to a lot of stuffs at the line of scrimmage. So even though you're not setting up like a 2nd and 12, a lot of times Notre Dame opponents are dealing with like 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9 because they aren't able to run the ball on early downs. And as I said, USC is going to be without their top 2 running backs, and even though King Miller ran all over Michigan, it was clear that the Wolverines were not prepared for him at all. They had not seen him on tape. But now that Notre Dame can prepare for King Miller specifically and how USC like to utilize him against Michigan, I think that gives Notre Dame an advantage. And even though last year USC ran for 197 yards, I think that is a big reason why they had so much success in the explosive passing game. Notre Dame could help alleviate that by shutting down the run game. Lean into their strength as a unit, stop the run, and force Mayava to throw a ton, and I think he's going to turn it over, especially if the weather is bad, which leads me to my second key. You got to capitalize on the turnovers if you're the Notre Dame defense. We brought this stat up earlier in this week, which was courtesy of Greg Famung, who's going to be on the show tomorrow, by the way. Spoiler alert there. In the past 35 series for the Notre Dame defense, they've recorded 9 interceptions and given up 4 touchdowns. Mayava will give them opportunities, and they have to take advantage of them, even if the ball is a little bit slick. Notre Dame was in serious danger against USC last year until they got the picks at the end of the game. That was the difference in the end. They also had multiple chances this year against Texas A&M, but they weren't able to take advantage of those opportunities, and that was the difference in the other direction. Finally, my last key for the Notre Dame defense, this one's pretty obvious, limit the explosives. USC is going to move the ball. They're going to rack up a lot of yards. Lincoln Riley is too smart, and they have too many playmakers not to. But force them to work their entire way down the field, and hopefully they'll make a mistake. Don't give up the big chunk plays, and you can contain this high-powered offense. All right, now let's switch it over to the other side of the ball and take a look at USC on defense. For as good as USC is on offense, they are not nearly as good on defense. But they went from being a total disaster when they had Alex Grinch as their defensive coordinator to pretty competent last season in their first season under defensive coordinator Dan Tonlin, who they poached from their hometown rival UCLA. So they jumped from 97th to 37th in defensive efficiency last year, but then they lost a ton of production at linebacker in the secondary over the offseason. And even though they try to reload in the transfer portal, this is still an average to below average defense. They're allowing 5.6 yards per play, which is 83rd in the entire country, and they gave up over 30 points to Illinois and Michigan State. Illinois is a good team. Michigan State is not a good team. The Spartans just scored 13 points on UCLA last week, and even though the Bruins have like this new revamped offense, their defense is still terrible. They got worked by New Mexico, and Michigan State could not move the ball on them. But they're an aggressive unit, which leads to some havoc plays, although that does lead to some explosives in the other direction. Some players to know. The number one guy that you need to watch for and the Notre Dame offense needs to watch out for is number 18, linebacker Eric Gentry. This dude is a stud. There's really no other way around it. He's also a freak of nature. He's 6'6", 225 pounds playing linebacker, and he can do everything. He leads the team in tackles. He leads the team in tackles for loss. He has 3 sacks. He has 3 forced fumbles, and he has 21 run stops. He's also pretty good in coverage as well. He is by far their best defensive player, and Notre Dame needs to take him out of the play as much as possible. He did not play against Notre Dame last year because he had a concussion, and he decided to redshirt last season because they were out of the playoff race so that he could have one more year of eligibility. Now he's back, and he's having a career year. But he's not the only good player on this defense. Keep an eye out for number 10, Braylon Shelby. He's first on the team with 3.5 sacks, also second in pressures. And then there's Anthony Lucas, number 6, who's a former 5-star that Notre Dame actually recruited pretty heavily, but he ended up at Texas A&M. He was part of that class when they had statistically, or like if you go by the rankings, it was the greatest recruiting class in the history of recruiting. And then literally every guy left because it was a nightmare at Texas A&M and they were just handing guys money. I'm pretty sure Anthony Lucas got kicked off the team and he ended up at USC, but he's cleaned up his act and he's very disruptive off the edge. He leads the team in quarterback pressures, and Notre Dame is going to have to watch out for them because let's be honest, the offensive line play for Notre Dame has not been great. It's not been elite, especially on the edges. So they're going to have to watch out for Anthony Lucas, number 6, and Braylon Shelby, number 10. On the back end, USC does not have a very good secondary, but they do have one ball hawk by the name of Bishop Fitzgerald. He is number 19. Fitzgerald has 5 interceptions on the year already. That is tied for the most in the entire country. He's a transfer from NC State, and he picked off 2 passes against Michigan and 2 passes against Purdue as well. He can make plays, but he gives them up too. He's gotten beat for 2 touchdown catches on the year. Their strength as a defense is in stopping the run. They've been solid against the run all season long. Opponents are averaging just 3.5 yards per carry. That's pretty similar to Notre Dame, and they've only given up 3 rushing TDs on the year, although Illinois got stopped on the goal line twice. They fumbled the ball 2 times going into the end zone. I don't know who you give the credit for, if that was like a good play by USC's defense. I didn't really think so. It just looked like the Illinois running back lost the ball. But either way, they did get the stop right near the end zone. USC is top 15 in the country at eliminating explosive runs. They've allowed just 3 runs of 20 or more yards, which I'm certain is going to be a point of emphasis for that unit going up against Notre Dame's explosive running backs, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. The reason why they've been so good at stopping explosive run plays is they are so much better at tackling than they used to be. And now, granted, it could have gotten any worse under the Alex Grinch regime back there. They were so bad at tackling. It was like comical, right? Trying to watch them make plays in the open field. But now, Pro Football Focus credits them with the 3rd best tackling grade of anyone in the entire country, and they are 2nd in the country in red zone defense. So this is a much improved group. They're very aggressive at getting after the quarterback. They have 20 sacks on the year, which is top 10. They've already hauled in 8 interceptions, but they certainly have their weak points. Despite the interceptions, their secondary is quite bad. They're outside the top 100 in the country in pass yards allowed per game, yards per attempt allowed, yards per completion, and explosive pass plays. Luke Altmaier shredded them through the air. Shredded them. And Luke Altmaier is good, but he looked like the Heisman Trophy winner against this USC defense. DeCarlos Nicholson, number 17. He's a cornerback on USC. That's someone Notre Dame is going to target when he is on the field. He's allowed 4 touchdowns already this season and 192 receiving yards and 21 targets. DJ Harvey, not the former basketball player, is another corner Notre Dame should target when he's on the field. And USC tries to make up for their issues on the back end by bringing pressure. But CJ Carr has been very effective against the blitz. You could even make a case that he's been better against the blitz than he's been when defenses just drop guys back in coverage. And lastly, they are one of the most penalized teams in the entire country. They have committed 44 penalties for over 400 yards. That is at the bottom in both categories across the entire country. Officiating has been quite the talking point the past couple of Notre Dame home games. We're going to see how it impacts the game on Saturday. But my keys for the Notre Dame offense: number one, let number 13 rip. CJ Carr is going to have to win this game for Notre Dame. This is his moment. He's only started 6 games of college football, and he's about to play his third big-time game in prime time. The scheme that Notre Dame installed against Miami kept CJ Carr under wraps, but then they let him air it out a little bit more against Texas A&M, and he had success. And now they've got to put the offense on his shoulders and just let him rip. It's all built to this. The hype from when he was a recruit, the fact that he won the job as a redshirt freshman. He's got the keys to the car. It stalled out a little bit early. I would not say it's his fault. Now he's got to get this thing humming. The Notre Dame offense has looked good lately, but now it can be even better, and they have to let CJ Carr take them there. USC is going to try to get after him in the backfield, but if he's got time, he can pick this team apart all game long. And he may have to do it in order to keep up with USC's offense. My second key for Notre Dame on offense, you got to capitalize in the red zone. This has been a huge emphasis for Notre Dame all week, I'm sure. They stalled out in the red zone multiple times the past few weeks, and whether it be their inability to convert in short yardage situations or turnovers, they have got to get that cleaned up. And now they're going up against the second best red zone defense in the country. Illinois should have rolled USC. Those 2 fumbles at the goal line kept USC in it. Notre Dame cannot afford to do that in this game. They have to clean up those mistakes, and they have to get back to the unit that was one of the best in the entire country at scoring in the red zone earlier in the year. And lastly, it's my same key for the Notre Dame offense every single week. Feed number 4 and feed number 24. They didn't run the ball at will against NC State because they sold out to stop the run, and yet they still had a productive game. When Notre Dame is on offense, the best players on the field are going to be whoever is on the field for the Irish at running back, number 13 in the blue and gold, and Eric Gentry on USC's defense. Notre Dame could win that matchup decisively if they bring in both running backs on the field at the same time. I would not be surprised if Mike Denbrock has been saving 21 personnel for this game. We talk about it all the time in the preseason. Notre Dame has not run it very much this season. I think we're going to see it. They always have some wrinkles for the big game. Against Texas A&M, it was the Wildcat. I think against USC, Notre Dame is going to run a lot of 21 personnel. All right, up next, we're going to take a look at how special teams could impact this game in a big way. Plus, I'll reveal my predictions. Stick around. Today's episode is brought to you by Wayfair. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your silverware needs a refresh, or the guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready. From Christmas trees and wreaths to bedding, cookware, and outdoor inflatables, it's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. I love how easy it was to find pieces that fit my style and budget. Everything was in one place and checkout was a breeze. The delivery is fast and free, which was a lifesaver during a busy time of year. Now, instead of stressing about getting the house ready, you can actually enjoy the holidays with friends and family. Get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to Wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Today's episode is also brought to you by SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? SupplyHouse's next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours and jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SupplyHouse.com. Real people, real service. So back when Lincoln Riley started out as the head coach at USC, he did not hire a special teams coordinator. He didn't care enough about the third phase, and it cost him. USC was really, really bad on special teams back in 2022 and in 2023. And if you remember, Jadarian Price's kickoff return for a touchdown pretty much sealed that game. USC was coming back a little bit, but then when Price returned that kick to the house, that game was over. And part of me wonders if Lincoln Riley was like, you know what? Maybe it's time to hire a special teams coordinator, as he saw number 24 scamper into the end zone and put that game away. Since then, he hired Ryan Doherty to be his special teams coordinator. He started back in 2024, and he is still leading the charge for the Trojans. And guess what? When you put some emphasis on special teams, things start to change in your favor. Last year, their punter won the Ray Guy Award for the best punter in this entire country, and Mekhi Lemon was third-team All-Big Ten as a return specialist. And this year, they've been very sound in the third phase of the game. Their kicker, Ryan Sari, has been nails. He's 9 of 10 on the year with a long of 54 yards. His only miss was like a chip shot, a little over 30 yards, but still, he's very good. They have a new punter, but he's been solid as well. And considering Mekhi Lemon is their primary returner still, he is a danger to score every single time he touches the ball. So for Notre Dame on special teams, I think you just got to have a clean game. This isn't one of those matchups where Notre Dame has a clear edge on special teams. I think they just have to keep it to a draw. Capitalize on your field goal opportunities when you have to kick them. Convert on all your extra points because, as we know, every single point is critical in games like this. And don't allow any big plays in the return game to Mekhi Lemon. Just try to avoid him if you can. And for Notre Dame's return guys, just focus on winning the field position battle. I think Jordan Faison has done a great job of that. And Jadarian Price has already returned a kick for a touchdown this year. He's been good at setting up Notre Dame when he does have the opportunity to return a kick. And this is more of a question, not so much a key. Do they have a trick specific for USC? Because at this point, everyone is expecting a fake when Notre Dame goes out for a punt or even a field goal because of what Marty Biagi and Marcus Freeman have done over the past 2 years. But even if they're expecting something, it might not really matter if the bag of tricks is deep enough. And I am one to believe that Marty Biagi has an endless bag of tricks of things he wants to do, whether it be fake punts, fake field goals, ways to block punts, you name it, right? And we saw Notre Dame convert on a fake punt against Texas early on in the second half when Notre Dame was already up by 1 million points. And then they ran, I guess you could call it a fake punt last week against NC State, even though they ended up lining up in a normal offensive formation for the most part. And it worked. And last year they connected on a huge fake punt play against USC, backed up in their own territory, so they are not afraid to do it at any given moment. And I just have a feeling that Biagi has one play specific for USC, and they're going to break it out. I don't know what, I don't know when, but I'm expecting at least one ballsy attempt on special teams in this game, which leads me to my predictions. I know Notre Dame is nearly favored by double digits in this game, but I expect this to be a back-and-forth affair. This is two very talented offenses going at it. It could end up being a track meet. Hopefully not in the same way that we saw against Texas A&M, but we know USC is supremely talented on offense. And even though Notre Dame has been much improved defensively, this is the best offense that the Irish have seen since Texas A&M, and we all saw what happened in that game. And last year, Jaden Maiava, Mekhi Lemon, and Jacoby Lane picked apart a Notre Dame defense that was top 5 in the country, and all those guys are back for this game. I also expect Lincoln Riley is going to be able to expose some weaknesses in this Notre Dame defense that other teams have not been able to exploit. But for as concerned as I am about the Notre Dame defense trying to contain the USC offense, I don't think USC has any chance at stopping this Irish offense for 4 quarters. The only thing that's been able to beat Notre Dame's offense lately is themselves. We saw it last week against NC State and the week before against Boise State. They should have put up at least 40 points in both those games, but they didn't because they had some, bad turnovers and they weren't able to capitalize in the red zone. But when this offense is on, like they were against Arkansas and they were against Purdue and like they were for most of the game against Texas A&M, this is an elite offense, and they can beat you a bunch of different ways. They can hand the ball off to the best running back tandem in the country, or they can hit you over the top with a quarterback who is quickly becoming one of the best, if not the most talented quarterbacks in all of college football. And like I said earlier, I have all the confidence in the world that CJ Carr is going to elevate his game even more for this matchup. This is his moment. If he goes out there and he has a huge game and Notre Dame wins this and they win out, CJ Carr is going to be right there in the Heisman conversation at the end of the year. And CJ Carr has played in big games before. Jaden Maiava has not, at least not in college. This is by far the biggest game of Jaden Maiava's college career. For CJ Carr, this is his third time doing it in 7 starts, and he's at home with the whole crowd behind him. I think that is going to be a huge difference maker in this game because Jaden Mayava was not playing in games like this when he's a true freshman at UNLV. And last year, USC was so disappointing. They were out of it halfway through the season. He never played in a game like this. He never played in an environment like this. And this year, it's the same story. Yeah, he played in a big game at home against Michigan. It's not going to be anything like going on the road to play in South Bend on Saturday night. And overall, I trust Marcus Freeman and his staff to have this team ready to go in a must-win game at home under the lights. They should have beaten Texas A&M in a similar situation, and I know this team has been itching for another opportunity like that, and now they have it. USC is going to come out with something to prove as well, but considering how much they've struggled on the road under Lincoln Riley, especially when they have to come out here to the Midwest, I think we're going to see some of those issues resurface on Saturday. So give me the Irish 35-31. CJ passes for 3 touchdowns through the air. Love and Price each rush in 1 more. And I think CJ Carr leads a game-winning drive late in the game that could go down in the history books. And defensively, I think they're going to give up some points. They're going to give up some yards. But Tay Johnson is going to come through with a big turnover in the second half. So there you have it. I think it's going to be an absolutely incredible night in Notre Dame Stadium, and it cannot get here soon enough. But that's going to do it for me today. Thanks again for making this your first watch or listen of the day. Please subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to the podcast. And if you enjoyed the show today, remember to give this video a like if you're watching along on YouTube, or rate the podcast 5 stars and leave a review. It really helps more Irish fans find the show. I also wanted to remind you to submit your mailbag questions if you want to be featured on Friday's show. As always, you can drop your questions in the YouTube comments or hit me up on X at LockedOnIrish or on Instagram at LockedOnIrishPod. I'm going to be right back here tomorrow to do another deep dive into this matchup, but I'm going to have a guest with me who also has deep ties to this rivalry. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you then.